Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to really get into the heart of complex stories, trying to bring you the clearest insights we can.
That's the goal.
And today, we are embarking on a truly somber and, frankly, intricate deep dive. It's a case that's haunted a community for, well, over a decade now. The unsolved disappearance and murder of two young cousins, Lyra Cook-Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins from Evansdale, Iowa. It's a case just marked by persistence, by this profound mystery and an ongoing, unwavering quest for justice.
That's absolutely right. And, this isn't just some file sitting in a cold case cabinet gathering dust. It's very much a living, breathing investigation.
Still active.
Very active. It's generated thousands of leads, literally thousands, and it continues to be actively pursued by multiple agencies pretty much day in and day out. For over 12 years now, this case has stayed unsolved, and our mission today really is to meticulously untangle the known facts, the confirmed facts from this, huge period of investigation. We want to give you, the listener, a crystal clear, informed understanding of what happened, the challenges investigators have faced, and importantly, where the search for answers stands right now.
Absolutely. And to give you that truly informed perspective, we've pulled from a deep stack of sources. We're talking everything from extensive local news coverage, KCR, GITV9, the Gazette, crucial, and then national reporting too from CITV, CBS News, KETV, KTVO, and very importantly, critical official statements directly from the Iowa Department of Public Safety.
Yeah, getting it straight from the source.
Exactly. The goal here isn't just to, recite facts. It's to piece together a careful sourced timeline, highlight what we know is confirmed, and really dive deep into the most credible unanswered questions.
Yeah.
We want to give you a truly comprehensive view, but, without getting overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information out there.
A lot to sift through.
It really is.
Yeah.
So our aim is to extract those crucial insights, the maybe surprising facts, and the essential details from all these different reports. We'll be your guides, basically, to this deeply important and still unfolding story.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's begin right at the very beginning. Let's lay out the timeline of what we know about the disappearance itself. It was Friday, July 13, 2012.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, a day that started, like any other, for two young cousins in Evansdale, 10-year-old Lyra Cook-Morrissey and her 8-year-old cousin Elizabeth Collins. They vanished under circumstances that, quickly turned tragic. They were last seen riding their bikes in Evansdale. Police confirmed a specific sighting. It was approximately 12:23 in the afternoon on Broven Boulevard.
Okay, so pretty precise time there.
Yeah, and then later sightings place them between about 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the early afternoon on Gilbert Drive. And that's not far from Meyers Lake, an area that would soon become absolutely central to this whole mystery.
And what's really telling here, I think, is how quickly the alarm bells started ringing. Because this wasn't, typical behavior for these girls at all.
Right.
Elizabeth's mother, Heather Collins, and Lyric's mother, Misty Cook-Morrissey, both said it very clearly. It was out of character for their daughters to wander far from home.
They knew their kids.
Exactly. Lyric's mother specifically said they usually don't go that far away. So that context is crucial. When Elizabeth's mother, Heather, reported them missing to the Evansdale police, that was at 2:48 in the afternoon because they hadn't come back from their bike ride, the concern wasn't just, a vague worry. It was immediate. It was palpable.
You could feel it.
Yeah, and it was rooted in the girls' established habits. They knew something was wrong.
And the response, wow, it was rapid, almost instantaneous, really. Within mere minutes of that missing persons report, Evansdale Police, the Black Hawk County Sheriff's Office, Evansdale Fire Department, they all joined the search.
All hands on deck.
Totally. Their initial efforts were incredibly focused, methodical. They started by canvassing the Collins home, just in case the girls were hiding or fell asleep somewhere. Standard first step.
Right. You have to check the obvious first.
But at the same time, patrol units fanned out, just tirelessly canvassing the immediate area. But then, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on that same day, July 13, came that crucial discovery that just shifted everything. An Evansdale firefighter located the girls' abandoned bicycles.
And that discovery, that was a massive turning point. It immediately signaled something was very, very wrong, way beyond just kids wandering off.
Yeah.
The bikes were found about a mile from the Collins home along a trail in the southeastern corner of Meyers Lake. And what's really significant about this specific spot is how hidden it was.
How so?
Well, it was concealed by this dense cluster of trees and brush, roughly 40 feet, they said, from the relentless noise of Interstate 380.
Ah, so the noise cover too.
Exactly. The seclusion of the spot, plus that constant masking roar from the interstate, meant that any potential struggle, any interaction, however brief, could have easily gone unnoticed.
Right, by anyone driving by or even on the lakes.
Yeah, it drastically reduced any chance of bystander awareness.
Yeah.
And adding to this chilling picture, Elizabeth's purse, which had her cell phone in it, but apparently she mostly used it for games and music, not calls,
Okay.
that was found thrown over a fence separating the trail from the lake. And while officials have been, strategically tight-lipped about exactly what else, they did confirm that additional evidence was located nearby.
Wow.
So that immediately told investigators, okay, this isn't just bikes left behind, this is a crime scene.
That just sends chills down your spine.
Oh,
And it immediately raises this cascade of really unsettling questions. The official response, like you said, escalated incredibly quickly, really reflected the immediate gravity. Within minutes of the bikes being found, the girls' names were already in NCIC, that's the National Crime Information Center, the FBI database by 4:30 p.m.
that fast.
That fast. In that same half hour, the fire department started dragging Meyers Lake, a desperate, immediate measure.
Trying to rule it out quickly.
Yeah. The Iowa DCI Division of Criminal Investigation and the FBI were contacted that very night. Both agencies had people arriving on scene early the next morning.
And what's truly fascinating here, and it really speaks to the immediate perceived danger, is how fast the FBI redirected significant resources.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, they already had a substantial presence, assets, and personnel right there in the Cedar Valley. They were investigating a completely separate, huge fraud case involving a businessman named Russell Wasendorf Sr.
Right, I remember that case.
Yeah. So many of those resources agents trained in specialized forensics, evidence collection, were swiftly rerouted to Evansdale to help search for the cousins and manage what was clearly becoming a complex crime scene.
Wow, pulling from another major case.
Exactly. And the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, they were notified right away too. They quickly deployed advisors to the scene, started prepping posters for distribution within that critical 100-mile radius.
Getting the word out.
Yep. And the FBI's elite child abduction response team, CART, was deployed. They stayed for a full week. And a dedicated data management team. They stayed even longer, until September 10th, just trying to manage the overwhelming flood of tips and information.
That's not typical for every missing persons case, is it? That level of response.
Not at all. It absolutely underscores the immediate understanding, the gut feeling that this was an abduction.
The sheer scale of that initial response, especially for a relatively small town like Evansdale, it sounds truly unprecedented. Must have been just overwhelming.
It absolutely was. An investigator who knew the case well told KCRG-TV9, and I quote, "From the get-go, it was obvious the girls had been abducted."
Wow, no question mark there.
No. It was the immediate, chilling conclusion, and that coordinated response involved, everything imaginable. Air support from the Iowa State Patrol using FLIR, forward-looking infrared.
Ink signatures.
Right, scanning the landscape. Divers, first local volunteers who just mobilized incredibly fast, and then later an elite FBI dive team meticulously searching Meyers Lake. Cadaver dogs from specialized search teams like STAR-1 were brought in, combing huge areas.
Covering all bases.
And then the ground searches. Civilians, law enforcement shoulder to shoulder in this desperate effort, combing woods, checking dumpsters, riding along with trash haulers. They even set aside landfill space for 2 weeks just for Evansdale trash that could be meticulously searched off-site.
Incredible detail.
They even examined sewer lines with TV cameras. This extraordinary level of deployment from day one, it just speaks volumes about the immediate fear that these girls hadn't just gone missing, they'd been forcibly taken.
It's a testament really to exploring every single possibility, no matter how unlikely, just to find them.
Absolutely. Every stone turned.
So with all that intense activity, the focus, understandably, really zeroed in on Meyers Lake, especially with the bikes found right there. Dragging operations started by 4:30 p.m. on July 13th, same day they went missing. That shows that immediate desperate hope, maybe they were just in the water.
Right.
And by Monday, July 16th, just 3 days later, the lake draining started, the water level dropping about 3 inches per hour. a visible, painstaking process.
And the rationale behind draining the lake, continuing the search there, it was driven by one main objective. Authorities wanted to be, quote, 100% certain the girls were not in the water.
A critical elimination step.
Exactly. They pursued this thoroughness even though family members, including Lyric's mother, Misty, had expressed early on they didn't believe the girls were in the lake. They held on to that harrowing conviction that they'd been taken.
That must have been agonizing for them, watching the lake being drained while believing their daughters were elsewhere.
Unimaginable. So, by Friday, July 20th, a full week after the disappearance, and after these exhaustive searches yielded nothing from the lake, no bodies, no more evidence, investigators publicly classified the case as an abduction. They definitively eliminated other possibilities.
Why?
This wasn't like a tentative guess. It was a firm decision based on the lack of any other plausible explanation, especially given the massive resources poured into that initial search.
That classification shift from missing persons to full-blown abduction, that must have been a definitive, chilling moment for the whole community. It meant they weren't just looking for lost kids anymore.
Precisely. It fundamentally shifted the entire investigative approach. All remaining resources, all future efforts were now directed towards finding the girls elsewhere.
Right.
It reinforced not only the investigators' conclusion, but also the family's growing awful belief that they were gone, meaning abducted, no longer near the lake, not deceased within it. It signaled a far more complex, far more dangerous situation. It changed how every lead was pursued, how the public was asked to help. It was the official acknowledgement of everyone's worst fears.
So, moving past that initial frantic week, the search for Lyric and Elizabeth continued, relentlessly. But weeks just agonizingly turned into months with, as reports said, literally no signs of Lyric and Elizabeth or what happened to them. We know that in early August 2012, investigators actually went back to Meyers Lake to follow up on some leads. But an FBI spokeswoman reported, quote, no positive results from that renewed effort. That period must have been just incredibly frustrating for law enforcement and absolutely devastating for the families.
It truly was a period of just profound uncertainty and, frankly, increasing dread. The lack of any immediate traces beyond those bikes and the purse, despite those incredibly intense early searches, draining the lake, the dogs, everything, it just deepened the mystery.
Yeah.
It strongly suggested a deliberate, highly efficient act. Whoever did this removed the girls from the scene quickly, leaving precious little trail. For investigators, that creates this gnawing void, this vacuum of information. It forces them to pivot from that rapid response mode to a slow, methodical grind.
And for the families.
An unimaginable void, hoping against hope every single day, yet knowing the likelihood of a positive outcome was just diminishing. It's one of the most heartbreaking aspects of abduction cases, that sudden, deafening silence after the initial shock.
And the public, naturally, was desperate for any clue, any image, anything that could help. Authorities responded by releasing that surveillance image showing a man in a white van, seen at an Evansdale convenience store around 2 o'clock in the afternoon on July 13th, just 2 hours before the bikes were found. A critical time frame.
And that image, as you can imagine, generated a huge amount of public attention. The good news, I guess, in terms of investigative efficiency was that the man in the photo, identified as Mike Knife, he saw himself in the media coverage and quickly contacted investigators.
Oh, good.
Yeah. He was promptly interviewed, his movements were corroborated, and he was subsequently cleared. The FBI confirmed he was absolutely not a suspect. He was just, as often happens, in the wrong place at the wrong time, caught on camera by chance.
Right.
But it highlights something crucial about these public appeals. They can generate vital leads, but they also often bring forward numerous innocent people who need to be quickly identified and ruled out so investigators can focus their limited resources.
Makes sense. But other vehicle-related leads did emerge from that early period, and those seem to remain relevant, kind of underscoring the ongoing focus around Meyers Lake. For instance, in June 2013, almost a year later, investigators sought information about an older, full-sized white SUV, something like a Chevy Suburban or maybe a Ford Bronco, seen parked on or near Arbutus Street, right by Meyers Lake, on the day the girls disappeared.
And it's really important to clarify here. The driver of that SUV was sought as a potential witness, not necessarily a suspect.
Oh, okay, good distinction.
Yeah, it underscores that methodical effort by police to reconstruct the exact events, account for everyone around the lake on July 13th. They were, and still are, casting a really wide net, trying to find anyone who might have seen something, maybe something that seemed totally innocuous at the time, but could now, in hindsight, be absolutely critical.
Right.
And the police even released what they called their 6 key points for the public. They asked people to actively report anything unusual, to really study photos of the girls, noting, importantly, how their appearance might have changed over time.
Good point.
And crucially, to trust their instincts about anyone they knew who showed sudden, unexplained changes in behavior or maybe their property after the disappearance.
Trust your gut.
Exactly. This guidance was based on their belief that the abductor likely used a vehicle and might have had a legitimate, normal reason to be in that area, maybe their job, maybe recreation, which would let them blend in. And while authorities knew about a reported attempted abduction of a boy in Cedar Rapids around that time involving people in a van, they publicly stated it was impossible to know if it was related. They emphasized focusing on confirmed details directly linked to Lyric and Elizabeth.
Okay. Then, after months of just agonizing waiting, unanswered prayers, uncertainty, the case took that profoundly somber, heartbreaking turn. Wednesday, December 5, 2012.
Yes. Around 12:45 in the afternoon that day, that faint glimmer of hope that the girls might somehow still be found alive was tragically finally extinguished. Hunters in a really remote, heavily wooded area of Bremer County, Iowa, an area known as Seven Bridges Wildlife Area.
Okay.
They made what reports called a grisly discovery. They found human remains partially hidden by the terrain. These remains were later definitively identified as Lyric Cook-Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins. The discovery site was about 25 miles from where they went missing in Evansdale, a significant distance that immediately added new layers of complexity. The journey for justice, though, was really just beginning.
It's been widely reported, and it's a detail that just continues to stand out. The cause of death has never been released publicly. In a case this high profile, why hold that back so tightly? What's the strategic thinking there?
This isn't just a detail, it's a critical strategic decision. It's a bedrock principle, really, in cold case investigation. They've repeatedly said withholding this information is absolutely essential to, quote, preserve the continuity of evidence and protect the integrity of the case facts.
Okay.
The reasoning is simple, but it's profound. Only the true perpetrator or perpetrators would know these specific, intimate details about how the girls died.
Ah, I see.
So it becomes a crucial piece of information for corroboration, a powerful, undeniable fact they can use to verify confessions or statements from potential suspects. It's an investigative tool, basically, a filter to distinguish genuine knowledge from false claims, which sadly happen a lot in high-profile cases.
People seeking attention or confessing falsely.
Exactly. It's like an intellectual chess match played out over years, where this one piece of held-back information is their ultimate trump card.
And the location of the discovery, 25 miles away from Meyers Lake, in such a remote area that seems incredibly significant beyond just the distance itself. What does that tell investigators?
Oh, it's hugely significant. Investigators believe that discovery location could be a key piece of information, a crucial puzzle piece pointing directly towards the perpetrator. As Bremer County Detective Jason Ellison stated, they believe the killer had to be familiar with both the Meyers Lake area and Seven Bridges area.
Familiar with both spots.
Yes. And DCI lead agent Scott Rieger reinforced this, emphatically adding, "You're not just going to be driving down Highway 20 and stumble onto Seven Bridges. You have to know that it's there."
It's not a place you just happen upon.
Not at all. This suggests a deliberate choice of a secondary, secluded location, either for the crime itself or for concealing the bodies. And it strongly implies the perpetrator had prior local knowledge or personal connections to both areas.
So likely not a transient just passing through.
Probably not. It points more towards someone who lives, works, or maybe recreates in that broader region. It helps narrow the pool of potential offenders, even if only subtly.
Now, more than a decade later, the investigation, remarkably, is still going strong. One key effort to understand the perpetrator was releasing elements from an FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit offender profile. That was shared publicly back in 2014. What did that profile suggest about who they might be looking for?
Right, that FBI profile, compiled by experts in criminal psychology, it painted this composite picture based on the evidence they had. It strongly suggested the individual is familiar with both Meyers Lake, which, just for clarity, is often called Angels Park now.
Okay, Angels Park.
Yes. Familiar with Angels Park in Evansdale and the Seven Bridges Wildlife Area in Bremer County. The profile stated the suspect specifically chose Seven Bridges because it was secluded, implying prior, intimate knowledge of its hidden trails, its remoteness.
Knew how hidden it was.
Exactly. It also characterized the offender as someone who actively blends in, someone who might be an unremarkable, integrated part of the Evansdale, Bremer, or surrounding communities. Not necessarily an outsider, potentially someone you'd pass on the street without second thought.
And crucially, the profile offered insight into the chilling method of abduction.
Yes. This is one of the most unsettling details from that profile. It suggested the suspect likely used quiet coercion to gain the girl's compliance.
Quiet coercion, what does that mean exactly?
It implies using a ruse, maybe a trick or a convincing story, or perhaps veiled threats of violence, rather than an overt public struggle. A non-violent initial interaction that then escalates.
Okay.
Other characteristics, according to this profile, might include the offender experiencing significant stress around July 2012, maybe legal trouble, marital problems, job loss, financial strain, mental health issues.
Suppressors.
Right. Such a person might also actively avoid discussing the case or seem uninterested, but would likely follow media developments very closely. The profile also indicated the offender might have attempted abductions before, suggesting a pattern, and could have altered their physical appearance or vehicle new paint, reupholstery, maybe getting rid of a specific vehicle after the disappearance to remove potential links.
Trying to cover tracks.
Exactly. And while the analyst's experience often points to one person in crimes like this, they did acknowledge that cases with more than one perpetrator do exist.
That quiet coercion detail is just profoundly chilling. What does that specifically imply about how the perpetrator approached the girls, and maybe even more disturbing, their likely reaction in those initial moments?
It really does reshape how you imagine those first moments. Quiet coercion means that initial interaction was likely nonviolent, maybe even deceptively friendly, or seemed authoritative.
Like a trick.
Probably. Using a trick, a story, some form of subtle psychological manipulation rather than immediate physical force to get the girls to comply and go with them. This is absolutely key because it makes it far less likely that a bystander would notice an obvious struggle or abduction in public.
Right, no big scene.
Exactly. If there wasn't a visible fight, if the girls were manipulated into leaving with someone who didn't seem outwardly threatening, then the question of who might have seen anything around the lake becomes even harder, yet even more critical. It also implies the girls might have initially gone along willingly, maybe believing the person was trustworthy or harmless, or they were quickly intimidated by a subtle threat that compelled compliance without a public scene. It forces us, and investigators, to rethink what normal looked like right then.
With a case this big and this enduring mystery, the public naturally speculates about suspects, especially when other high-profile crimes happen nearby. The name Michael Klunder, a convicted kidnapper and murderer in a nearby case from May 2013, has often come up in public discussions about Evansdale. Initially, back in 2014, Evansdale Police Chief Kent Smock publicly said Klunder had been ruled out as a suspect in the Evansdale case.
And this is exactly where that complex dilemma between public transparency and maintaining absolute case integrity really comes into focus. DCI lead agent Scott Rager later clarified the official stance. He stated it would be, quote, inappropriate for us to comment on ruling in and ruling out individuals.
Why inappropriate?
Well, he explained, quite logically, that publicly commenting on specific people could severely jeopardize justice if that person is the perpetrator. You might tip them off, give them information.
Right.
Conversely, it could unfairly and permanently attach innocent people to a horrific crime, just ruin their lives. So while Klunder was initially ruled out by local police, the official current DCII stance is that there's no official public linkage to the Evansdale case, and they won't comment on who's ruled in or out.
So officially, no comment on Klunder either way now.
Right. It's a calculated strategic decision to protect the ongoing investigation and any potential future prosecution, however frustrating that lack of public clarity might be for the families and the community.
I also read a detail that really stood out, maybe less known. In 2017, authorities actually reported that 2 separate individuals had confessed to the crime. That's startling.
It is startling, and it often surprises people. Yes, in 2017, authorities confirmed 2 separate individuals came forward, each claiming they did it. However, and this is key, these individuals were quickly and definitively ruled out. The reason they were eliminated is absolutely crucial. They failed to provide those intimate details about the case, information that only the real killer or the investigative team would know.
Back to the withheld information.
Exactly. It profoundly highlights why keeping certain facts confidential is so important. It's a key method for distinguishing real information from false confessions, which sadly aren't uncommon in big cases like this. People might seek attention, have psychological issues, or just be mistaken. It's a testament to the investigator's discipline in guarding that critical knowledge.
It's clear this is an incredibly complex investigation, going on for a remarkably long time. So who exactly is still working on this? Is it like a revolving door of new agents, or is there continuity?
That's an excellent question, and the answer really speaks volumes about the commitment here. The investigative team is still quite robust, very dedicated. It's made up of representatives from local, state, and federal agencies, Bremer County Sheriff's Office, Iowa DCI, the FBI.
The core agencies.
Right. And what's truly remarkable and a huge strength is the consistency and dedication of this team. They're in frequent contact, constantly sharing updates, trying to meet monthly to go over new tips, leads, strategy. Crucially, the team includes agents who have been involved since the very beginning in 2012.
Wow, still on it after all this time.
Yes. That continuity is vital. Even investigators who've retired or moved on, they're still consulted. That institutional knowledge isn't lost. Think about it. Nearly 2,000 leads. Without agents who were there from day one, remembering the context of every initial interview, every piece of evidence, every dead end, you risk losing vital connections.
You'd be constantly reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. That institutional knowledge acts like this living, breathing database. New tips get instantly cross-referenced against years of intricate details. It prevents the team from chasing old ghosts or missing subtle patterns that only long-term familiarity reveals. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and this core team really embodies that commitment.
That long-term commitment, combined with advances in science, seems like a significant source of hope. As of mid-2025, the Iowa DCI Crime Lab is actively applying new DNA technology to evidence in the case. That sounds genuinely significant for a crime that happened over a decade ago.
It absolutely is a major development. It's one of the most promising avenues in cold case work globally. Time, ironically, creates these technological advances, things that weren't even conceivable, let alone possible, back in 2012.
Right.
The DCI Crime Lab has been really proactive here. They've specifically upgraded their alternative light sources. They're much more sensitive now, letting them examine evidence for even the faintest biological stains that might have been invisible or uncollectible years ago.
Finding things missed before.
Potentially. They're also using a cutting-edge new software program called StarMix since April 2025. This software is a game changer. It can analyze and computationally separate DNA mixtures samples with DNA from multiple people.
Okay, that sounds complex.
It is. Think of it like picking out individual voices in a crowded, noisy room. StarMix helps separate the DNA voices in a single complex sample. That was incredibly difficult, if not impossible, before. They can say much more about a minor component of DNA in a mixture now. Furthermore, they've upgraded machines to extract DNA from degraded samples, stuff that's been exposed to the elements water, heat, cold for years. Evidence previously thought unusable might now yield crucial genetic material.
And are these new technologies, these incredible leaps, actually yielding results, pushing things forward?
Well, specific findings haven't been released, which is totally understandable for an active investigation, but the sheer volume of work the DCI Crime Lab is doing on this case is telling. They've already written 30 comprehensive reports related to this case. 20 of those are direct results of DNA testing on evidence collected from the crime scenes.
20 NNA reports.
Yeah, for a typical case, that number is considered a lot. It really indicates the intensity of the forensic reexamination happening right now. Elizabeth's father, Drew Collins, has publicly expressed his confidence in this new technology, echoing that hope it will bring them closer to answers. It truly allows for reevaluating trace evidence that might have been uninterpretable or just too tiny years ago. It breathes new life into the search.
Despite all the high-tech forensics, the advanced DNA, investigators constantly emphasize the fundamental need for public tips. They followed up on nearly 2,000 leads over the years, including an impressive 117 tips in just a recent 10-month period alone. And every single tip, no matter how small it seems to the person calling it in, is meticulously reviewed.
This ongoing fervent plea really highlights a core belief in law enforcement for these tough, enduring cases. As Bremer County Detective Jason Ellison put it so well, we want people to come forward if they have information. For whatever reason, people have information that they don't feel like it's worthy of sharing. Let us do our job and get us that information. And it could be that piece of the puzzle that we need.
Don't filter it yourself, basically.
Exactly. That perspective is critical. Investigators know people might dismiss what they saw or heard as insignificant, a minor detail. But in a case with so few public clues, where the perpetrator left minimal obvious traces, every single detail, no matter how small or seemingly unrelated, could be that vital missing piece. It could provide context for other evidence or be the one piece of corroboration that finally connects all the dots.
Let's pull back now, look at some key insights, some persistent unanswered questions that this deep dive really reveals. First, there's that striking element, the strategic secrecy investigators maintain around key facts. We talked about not releasing the cause of death, not publicly ruling suspects in or out.
Yeah, and this strategic secrecy, it's absolutely fundamental to their approach, what they call preserving case integrity. As DCI lead agent Scott Rigger explained it, the person that did this and persons that did this and the investigative team are the only ones that can know that. That's the only way that these types of cases get resolved in the long term.
Creates unnecessary tension, though.
It absolutely does. An undeniable, often painful tension with the families who desperately want answers, want every piece of information. But it's deemed vital for a successful prosecution. Imagine the psychological pressure on a perpetrator, knowing there's a secret about the crime only they and the investigators share. It's designed to make them doubt every public statement, every rumor, creating this constant internal pressure that might, over time, lead to a crack in their facade. It's that intellectual chess match again, played over years, where the killer unknowingly holds the key to their own undoing.
There's also that stark contrast between the two main crime scenes. The seemingly public bike discovery site at Meyers Lake versus the incredibly remote, secluded body discovery site at Seven Bridges, 25 miles away.
That contrast is profoundly significant. It tells a crucial part of the story, the fact that only the bikes and purse were found at Meyers Lake, despite those massive immediate efforts, including draining the lake. That strongly indicates an abduction happened there.
Right, if they drowned, they likely would have been found there.
Almost certainly, or more evidence would have been found in or immediately around the lake. The later discovery, 25 miles away in that secluded area known only to locals, that suggests a deliberate choice of a secondary, hidden location, either for the crime itself or for disposal.
Planned. Calculated.
Exactly. This significant distance, plus the complete lack of intermediate evidence found between the two sites, paints a clear picture of a planned abduction and a very calculated disposal. It implies a perpetrator who executed a scheme rather than acting spontaneously, and one who knew both the initial abduction point and a remote, secure secondary spot.
And we keep circling back to that quiet coercion hypothesis in the FBI profile. For our audience, who are often well-versed in these cases, what does that specific method truly mean for how we understand the crime? Beyond just that initial interaction, what are its larger implications?
That's an insightful question. For an informed listener, quiet coercion changes the entire lens. It means we're not looking for obvious signs of a struggle that would draw attention. Instead, it forces investigators and us to consider the subtle, the almost invisible.
The lack of obvious signs is the sign.
In a way, yes. It suggests the perpetrator used a ruse or veiled threats, not overt force initially, making it far less likely bystanders noticed anything amiss at Meyers Lake. If there wasn't a visible struggle, if the girls were manipulated into leaving with someone who didn't seem overtly threatening, then the question of who might have observed anything around the lake becomes even harder, yet simultaneously more critical. It forces the public to reconsider seemingly innocent interactions they might have witnessed. For the investigation, it demands re-examining people who might have seemed too calm, too helpful, or just acted in a way that in hindsight feels slightly off in that specific time frame.
And that leads right into the importance of public perception and intuition, which the police have continually emphasized with their direct appeals and those 6 key points, encouraging people to trust their instincts to report anything unusual. For our audience following this case, what specific, maybe almost invisible behavioral cues should they be re-examining in their memory from that time?
Exactly. The police are asking people to pay attention not just to what they saw, but what they felt was off, even if they couldn't articulate why back then. As one consultant, retired police chief, put it, if you think somebody is just a little off, that's not a bad thing.
Don't dismiss that feeling.
Right. For the informed listener, it means going beyond the obvious. Scrutinize memories for anyone who displayed an abrupt, unexplained change in behavior, appearance, or their property after July 2012. Did someone suddenly become reclusive? Did they repaint their vehicle, get rid of a car for no clear reason? Did they show an unusual, almost obsessive interest in news about the case? Or, conversely, a complete and unnatural avoidance of it?
Subtle shifts.
Very subtle. The unsettling thought, as investigators have conveyed, is that the perpetrator walks amongst us and lives amongst us, meaning they are likely someone known within the community, maybe someone who seemed outwardly normal. This just emphasizes the vital need for continued community vigilance, for people to share even those small or seemingly unimportant bits of information, because what seems minor to you could be the absolutely crucial final piece for investigators.
This has been a truly comprehensive and at times definitely heartbreaking look at an incredibly difficult case. The case of Lear Cook-Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins remains active. Investigators are resolute. Detective Jason Ellison's message to the killer has been unwavering. Time is on our side now. Time is not on their side.
That sentiment is powerfully echoed by DCI lead agent Scott Rager, who stated, "We're not going away. This case isn't going away. And sometimes big things just break over time because we hit it again. This isn't just, tough talk. It reflects a deep personal commitment."
You can feel it.
Yeah. Many investigators involved have developed a personal connection to this case. Some have been there since day one. That fuels their unwavering resolve to see justice served. Elizabeth's father, Drew Collins, consistently expresses his belief that answers are coming, saying, "Every day that passes is a day closer to us catching them."
That combination, relentless pursuit by dedicated law enforcement, plus these remarkable scientific advancements, it really does offer a real beacon of hope that this case will eventually be solved.
Absolutely.
So if you, our listener, have any information, no matter how small it seems, about July 13, 2012, around Meyers Lake, or maybe any activity around Seven Bridges Wildlife Area in the months that followed, please come forward. This is not a cold case. Your tip could be the one that finally breaks it open.
There are direct and confidential ways to share what you know. You can email authorities at ourmissingGOAgirls@dps.state.ia.us. Okay, let me spell that out. That's OURMISSINGIOWAGIRLS@dps.state.ia.us.
Okay, got it.
You can also call their 24-hour, 7-day-a-week phone tip line. That number is 1-855-300-TIPS. That's TIPS. Or the numbers are 1-853-008-477.
And it's worth noting, there's a very significant reward being offered for information leading to an arrest, $100,000. There have been previous mentions, too, of $50,000 from Cedar Valley Crime Stoppers and potentially an additional $150,000 from the FBI and private donors. It's a substantial amount, representing a major incentive. Every bit of information truly matters. No detail is too small.
And as you reflect on this case, this long, agonizing search for justice, maybe consider this. Given the precise locations where the girls were last seen, where their remains were found, and with the relentless passage of time allowing for these incredible technological leaps in forensics and digital analysis, what new forms of maybe digital footprint or perhaps even more refined behavioral analysis might still emerge? Something to connect that initial quiet coercion at Meyers Lake to the secluded Seven Bridges area, finally bringing the answers and the justice that Lear Cook-Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins and their families deserve. It's a powerful thought to carry with you.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.